Information is power, and we're bringing it to you with the BGA's nonpartisan podcast, Ready, Set, Gov, tackling the most important challenges in Illinois. Find it on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts.
So, Brittany, you back
Yes.
from your vacation. How you feeling?
I'm feeling sick. I'm still sick.
What's up with your voice?
Yeah, too much fun and a cold.
Are you going to make it through the episode?
I'm going to make it. I'm back. I know you were trying to hope that I'd say I was too sick to do it and you could do it all by yourself or replace me with someone else, but that is not happening.
I don't think I could do this with anyone else at this point, so I think you'll make it a few more weeks at least.
At least. Well, maybe through the summer and then we'll see.
We'll see what happens. But This is Alternative Fact Chicago. This is episode 44. Hopefully, we make it through this entire episode with no injuries, no one getting more sick, and hopefully this episode saves as well.
We don't want to do this again.
This is B.Hun with my homie B-Chan. How you doing today?
I'm good. A beautiful sunny day.
Where are you at? Because in Chicago, it was literally just raining about 2 minutes ago.
Was it really? Oh, well, a little bit west of Chicago, the sun is shining.
That's the crazy part about living in the city and the suburbs. It can be two totally different types of weather, and you wouldn't even know it.
Or like the north side and the south side, even.
Well, Chicago is a huge city, so not too surprised.
Yeah. So, well, hopefully the sun's heading your way. You'll see it in a couple.
Let's hope. But hey, since you just came from sunny California, give the people a rundown of your trip.
Oh my goodness, it was fantastic. We were in Southern California, San Diego, La Jolla. We stayed in La Jolla. The first night we were there, we ended up at this bar in Pacific Beach that turned out to be like a Chicago Blackhawks bar. So that was awesome. We were like, oh my gosh, Chicago. So the owner's from Chicago. So that was really cool. We did a winery tour in Temecula. So like a limo picks you up and it's like 45 minutes to Temecula where there's like 50 wineries. I don't know. They said soon there's going to be like 200. So we did that.
Yeah.
Hit some wineries in Temecula and then went out Saturday night downtown San Diego, Cinco de Mayo. So that was fun and wild and crazy. And then what did we do on Sunday? Oh, on Sunday we went to Coronado Island and did like this boozy brunch with like a billion desserts, and my clothes don't fit and I gained like 6 pounds, but it was a really fun time. So shout out to my ladies. There was 6 of us. They are the best group of girls in the world. To have 6 girls travel and stay in a house together and not want to fight each other is unbelievable. We had an awesome time.
I was hoping, hear something, a little more crazy. I predicted that, someone's going to get lost. Someone wouldn't make the flight back home. It sounds like it was pretty PC of a trip.
It was. No one got lost. I'm like thinking really hard. No one got lost. Everyone made their flights home. Yeah. No, we're kind of grown. It was some details that don't need to be on the show like while we were there, but we are grown women and we all made it home in one piece.
Well, that's a pretty boring story, but glad you had a good time.
Thank you. Yeah, that's that.
I know I saw some of your Instagram stories being in the DJ booth, so looked like you were making some waves out there.
Saturday we did bottle service at the club because we were like, it's Cinco de Mayo. We are grown people. Like, we do not want to be pushing through like sweaty 21-year-old dudes to get to the bar. So we did it grown ladies style, and we had bottle service, and that was the way to go for sure. So we had a good time.
Well, dope. Well, now that your voice is gone, sounds like I'll have to do most of the talking this episode.
Yeah, like you don't usually anyway.
Hey, no, actually, I want to take a poll. We need to find out who talks more on the episode, myself or B-Chan, because I think it's you.
I don't think so, but we'll see. We'll see what the people think.
Speaking of, so we'll put a poll out on social media. But speaking of, let's plug our social media. Twitter is AFact Chicago. Alternative Fact Chicago is our Instagram and Facebook. We're always looking for more sponsors. We do have more announcements to come, but make sure you email us at alternativefactchicago@gmail.com. We'll get into some more plugs a little bit later in the show, but my Twitter is bhun1984. And B-Chan, what's yours? You changed yours back.
I changed it back. I changed it for the morning to B-Chan because B always gives me such a hard time about my Twitter, but the people on Twitter did not like it. They were confused. They didn't even know who I was anymore. So I said, you know what? I'm going to change that back. So my Twitter and Instagram, as always, will remain Starbright312.
It sounds like the AOL name from back in like high school and college. You know, when you had AIM,
Oh, yeah, I
you had
know.
an AIM screen name. That's what
Yeah.
that would mean.
Well, I have my email is still my AIM things from when I was like 16. So
You need to
I
grow
mean,
up.
never, ever, ever.
Well, we'll work on you changing that name.
No.
One day you're just gonna come back and it's gonna be stuck at B Channel. You're never gonna be able to change it again.
The people didn't like it. I lost my identity.
It was like 3 people,
That was
and
enough.
so screw them. But hey, we'll work on that. Hey, we love the fans, so whatever the fans want, right?
Yeah, they want Starbright.
Speaking
And
of the
that's their goal.
fans,
Yeah,
who's our fan
speaking
of the
of the
week?
fans. Our fan of the week is Jeremy. He is a St. Louis native and he now lives in Dallas. You can find him on Twitter at Hammy, Hammy 7428. He listens. He loves the show. He always listens in the gym, gives us feedback. Normally is telling B.Hun he wants more Cowboys content when you tell him to settle down and wait
That's
for
never
football
gonna
season.
happen, by the way.
But he is awesome. I'll keep it short, but really hilarious story how I actually met him. Last fall, I was down in Dallas for a Cowboys game. A bunch of us, there was like 12 of us there, and my dad was with us, and we see this guy like 2 rows in front of us at the game, and he has this crazy mask on, and he's like screaming and going crazy, and he like knows everything Michael Irvin's gonna say like on the big screen, and we're like cracking up, and my dad's like, look at this guy. So like we had a good time enjoying him, and that was the end of it. And I got home, and maybe like a month later, a guy started following me on Twitter, and I looked at his picture, and it was the guy wearing this crazy mask. And I was like, okay, this is nuts, but I think it's that guy from the Cowboys game. So I showed my dad, and he was like, it's that guy. But we're like, well, he's just wearing a mask. It could be anyone. So I messaged the dude, and I'm like, this is crazy, but you just have to tell me, were you at this game? Because it's making me nuts. Sure enough, it was him. Those are his season tickets. So he knew exactly where we were sitting. It was totally him. And so we kind of talked Cowboys a lot on Twitter after that. So when I started on the show, he was like, well, I'll listen. And he's become quite a fan. But it was just crazy that you would see someone with like 100,000 people at a game, and then they would randomly follow you on Twitter later. It was just wild. So that's Jeremy. He's awesome. Check him out. He is one of the biggest Cowboys fans I've ever met. And for that, but really for liking our show, he's the fan of the week.
Jeremy, what up? Thanks for being a fan of the week. Thanks for supporting the show. But on the flip side, I'm sorry, the Dallas Cowboys do, in fact, still suck. But hey, you can be a fan of the show all you want. We really thank you. We appreciate it. And I was thinking we need to think of something more to do, like an incentive or a giveaway to our fans of the week, like a gift card or something. Or you know what I mean? I think we need to work on that.
Well, that would be assuming our fans would want to give us their personal information, but we'll see.
Well, hey, if they want a free gift, I think they'll make
Yeah,
it
that's
happen.
true. That's fair. Okay, we're going to work on that.
What about an
We're gonna
email?
work.
We can do an e-receipt or something.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I think we need to give an incentive for the fans to be fan of the week, or else it's almost pointless.
Okay, that's fair. I like giveaways.
Well, we'll work on that, and we'll get back to you.
Yeah. The
Let's get
previous
into some
fans of the week
topics,
are going to be
man.
pissed. Okay, so some topics. Obviously, the first one I think we have to talk about is your guy, Childish Gambino, and his new video for his song, This Is America. He hosted Saturday Night Live on Saturday. I'm sure everyone knows. He premiered the single on the show and shortly after released it online along with the video. It has been all over the place, making all kinds of waves because of its kind of the nature of it, of trying to dissect exactly what's going on in the video. It's how important it is to everything going on in society today. So what did you think of it, B?
Yeah, we'll start with the actual video itself before we get to like his Saturday Night Live performance and everything else that went on the
Yes.
past week with him. So the actual video itself, I thought was overall amazing. The song itself is dope. It'll probably be, at least nominated, if nothing else, for a couple Grammys this year, probably VMAs as well. Definitely think it deserves it. So I think Childish Gambino is almost trying to become borderline like GOAT status, of music. I prefer the Childish Gambino character as opposed to the Donald Glover, character, so to speak. But
Hmm.
obviously, I do still love both. But I think the video, just the twists, the turns, all the messages that it presented, from the dancing to just wanting to get money to all the random killings, and it was just a different wave of emotions that I think was well thought out and was awesome. I can see the other side, which I think after I get your comments, I'll give the other side of the story. But I think what he did, I thought it was amazing, great concept, all around great video, and I do like the fact that videos are becoming way more important. Again, in 2018, like people are actually putting out well thought out videos. I think it's great for the culture. What do you think?
I mean, I watched it. I don't know how many times, and I still think there's probably a million things I missed. And so a couple. That's what I love, though, is that the first time I watched it, I had no clue anything that I missed because, as the point of it was, you're distracted by him, distracted by the dancers. Kind of the overall message of the video being how different things can distract us from what's really going on. But a couple of the things that I thought were super interesting. So it came out Saturday night. As I said, I was not home. I was on a trip, so I was not on social media much or watching TV or anything. So I caught up when I got home. One of the things apparently on Saturday night, the man at the very beginning of the video who's playing the guitar, um, who then gets shot by Childish Gambino. A lot of people thought that it was Trayvon Martin's father because it looks just like him.
Yeah, I
So
heard that.
apparently, yeah, people were all over saying it was him. It was not. It is an artist named Calvin II who was doing that. But the thought then remains, was that intentional to represent Tracy Martin, who's Trayvon's father? One of the things that I thought was like the most like mind blowing was the imagery kind of the way that he would handle the guns and then the way that it would happen after the people died. So when he shoots the first guy, he shoots him with the gun and so carefully puts the gun back in this
Yep.
red cloth. Yet here's the man's body who just gets dragged off. So the idea of how we as society, especially in America right now, are so careful and we value guns over how we value people. And so I thought that was like really, really intense. Obviously the different ideas around with the different kids dancing, what it represents, how it's a distraction to what's going on, how they're using it to distract us from issues, things like that. I think you can get really deep. I read a couple of things of people who think, it's talking about social media. I don't know. And maybe that's the point, that some of it's up for interpretation. But between the gun issue, that how we handle guns versus people, and then the issue at the end with the person in the black cloak riding the white horse, kind of
Yep.
symbolizing the horseman of the apocalypse. That I thought was really, really interesting. And what's crazy is the Bible scripture. I'm not preaching to anybody today, but the Bible scripture about that says, and I'm going to read it. It's from Revelation 6:8. It
Oh
says,
my God, you're
"Wait,
pulling
no,
out a
listen,
Bible quote on this?
listen to me.
What?
Listen why. Listen to why." It says, "I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him." Well, in that scene, it is obviously a white horse with someone riding it being Death. And what was following the horse in that scene was a police car. And hell followed with him. So I don't think that that's reading too much into it. I think that's a play by play telling you exactly what was happening in that scene, which I thought was so interesting.
Yeah, you just the video. Just so much happens in the video that you almost have to watch it a good
A
four or
hundred
five
times.
times.
100.
SZA was in there, and people probably missed that. There was like a traffic stop like segment as well too. The
And
biggest
the
thing
part,
that I thought was crazy but cool was, with all the killings, it seemed like almost no one cared. It seemed like it's a thing of the moment, and then you're going back to getting money and to dancing, and not really focus on the things that really do matter. So I think he played
absolutely.
on all of those stereotypes almost purposely, perfectly. Where I think, and this is another take I did read on social media, people, and I want to get your thoughts on this. The opposite take was that this is almost like a careless representation, is becoming almost cliche to the point to where these types of songs and these types of videos are almost as at this point playing up what goes on in the black community, and all the killings, and it's almost becoming cliche to just make a mockery or to show these things where it doesn't really expand the narrative or the culture at all in regards to this. So I can see that side. I don't necessarily agree, but what's your take on that?
I would have never looked at it that way. I think because it covers such a broad issue, it wasn't just about police killings. It wasn't just about gun violence, gang violence. It was so many different things, to the murders of the choir people representing the shooting in Charleston. Like, I thought it just covered such a broad spectrum, that to me, I would not interpret that way. I respect that someone does, and I can understand saying now you're kind of using this. I guess I get that you're using this in these tragedies to kind of capitalize and kind of sell out for all of then all the attention that comes with it. I would never have gone that route in my opinion of it, but I guess I kind of understand, but I disagree personally.
It's just a case of people being sensitive.
Well, and here's another thing, and I didn't even bother continuing to read. I do know that people were up in arms that apparently Donald Glover, I don't think Childish Gambino, has made jokes in the past about different races and things like that. So again, you get where, okay, let's not idolize these people, right? So we can say this video is really deep and really intense and has a lot of meaning without saying that means we're going to worship everything that Donald Glover does. So I think that that's it too. You can say this has a place, this is important. This might reach people in a message in a way that other things don't. And when we're talking about art, it doesn't always have to appeal to everyone. It doesn't always have to do the most. He's not a politician. He's not trying to solve all of these problems. He's an artist, and this is his take. And I think sometimes we have to leave it at that. That's what artists do. You either enjoy their work or you don't. And if you don't, then move on.
Right. But obviously, people are always going to have a comment one way or another, and there has to be some type of negative feedback from it too. So, I mean, I guess I get that notion, but no, I say pass. I think that's just definitely people being sensitive. I thought it was an amazing video, great concept. He's definitely coming to his own where I think he's just, approaching almost like superstar status. This song's fire, gets an A+ for me.
And do you think it was the first time that the Bible has been quoted on Alternative Facts Chicago?
It 100% was.
Well, cheers to you, Mr. Donald Glover,
There you
for
go.
that. So speaking of negative backlash and things like that, well, did you want to get into the performance? I only saw videos of it. I didn't see it. I saw a couple of clips. What did you think of his performance on Saturday Night Live?
Saturday Night Live, I would say it was a good show. I'd say I like Childish Gambino, the rapper and the artist, more importantly than I would say his acting as Donald Glover. It was definitely funny. I'm gonna say I was honestly probably just leave it at that. Some of the skits were pretty funny. It
The
was
Cavaliers
just
one.
pretty average to me. I wasn't like belly laughing or like telling people, "Oh my God, you got to see this clip." But I think overall, this is superstar status precedes all that to where I think overall he did a good job.
Did you like the Cavaliers one? That was the only one I saw.
Yeah, it was
Like
pretty
the
funny.
other
I mean,
Cavaliers.
obviously I get it. I mean,
Funny.
text
You didn't
actually
love
what
it?
happened, but Cleveland's balling right now, so people can laugh all they want.
I know, it was just funny. Okay, so speaking of the negative, then some of the backlash has been apparently Donald Glover's longtime partner that he has 2 children with, named Michelle. I think she kind of keeps a low profile, so nobody really knew much about her. And then this week or last week, out came a picture posted where they found out that apparently she's white. Maybe people didn't know, they didn't care, they didn't realize, and there has been all kinds of conversation around it. So what do you think about that, B?
I'm going to save some of my comments for Clown of the Week because this segment will be brought back up in our Clown of the Week segment at the end of the episode. But for now, are we really still talking about this? It actually mind boggles me. I know I had this conversation with Bobby on a previous episode, but just the simple fact that we have to even have the conversation of, who you're dating, what race that person is that you're dating, no matter the type of music or the art that you represent. I think it's absolutely nonsense. I think people that still have an issue with it are very, self-conscious of their own issues. Maybe they can't find the right person for them, so they're blaming other people or blaming other races for, say, almost stealing their man or their culture. I think it's just a very narrow point of view. And that's all I'm going to say on that for now. But I'll definitely leave my comments for the Clown of the Week because I got a lot more in the chat.
Okay, so you would not say that someone who represents Black culture can no longer represent that or be in that space if their partner is not also Black?
That is 100,000 million% false. I don't think that should ever be a narrative. Who you date should never, be who you represent in regards to the culture. You can date whoever you want, but who you are on the inside always and should matter, first and foremost. So
Of
what do
course.
you think on that? I think it's absolutely insane.
Well, I do too, obviously. I think it was you that I sent like the thing to when I was like, do we need to discuss this? And you were like kind of annoyed with me, like, why would we discuss this? And one of the quotes was like, you can't speak to the culture if you're sleeping with the enemy. And that just made me laugh
The
because
enemy. What
that's what it
the
said. So obviously I then, as a white woman, surprised for anyone who didn't know, then obviously don't feel like I'm the enemy of progress. I'm the enemy of social issues. I'm not the enemy of any of those things. I understand some people might be, but obviously, but that's why I respect your opinion on it. It's hard for me to have an opinion when I'm
I
kind
mean,
of
it's just fact. It's
the enemy.
2018. Like, obviously, there's a lot of racial issues going on, but to still question, who somebody's dating when, and I think, Childish Gambino had made a couple comments in the past that, he was looked down on and made fun of, by certain types of women in the black culture, which that kind of sounds like a little bit of an excuse maybe to get out of it, so to speak. But
Hmm.
I do a little bit understand his point of view, and I mean, he likes who he likes, he loves who he loves, and that should be that. It should never be a conversation of you're turning on the culture. You can't represent the culture because you're dating someone, of another race. I think that's absolutely asinine, and that's why they're going to get conned a week later.
That's right. So, spoiler alert, let's move on,
You want to play some bills real quick or what?
I guess.
Let's do it. So what's up to the Wrigley Report? This sponsorship is sponsored by the Wrigley Report. I can't read today, sorry. Cubs fans, if you're looking for the latest Wrigley renovations, updates, team news, player analysis, and overall Cub news, look no further than the Wrigley Report, your number one source for all Chicago Cub news. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter on their handle at Wrigley Report. And thanks for being one of our sponsors. Also to Better Government Association that you hear at the beginning of the episode. And we do have a select host of other sponsors always looking for more, and especially local to Chicago. So make sure you reach out, email us if you want to be a sponsor for Alternative Fact Chicago.
Yes,
Ready? What else have we got? Let's get into a little bit of sports. You want to do that?
of course.
I think I know you love sports. I feel like we've been neglecting it a little bit since our live show. So I think we need to talk about some sports for a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's a good plan.
Absolutely, especially with the NBA playoffs right now. And of course, first of all, I want to say hello to all the Toronto Raptors fans who predicted that Toronto will beat Cleveland in 5 or 6 games. Hi to you. I hope that you're feeling better about getting swept out of the playoffs. I'm not sure why you even thought for one single second that LeBron James would lose to Toronto when he's absolutely owned them his entire career, and he essentially just takes their souls out of their hearts every single season. And that's what happened again this year. So,
Oh, you're feeling good today, aren't you?
I
You're feeling
mean,
good about this Cavs team. Our bet is still alive and well because my Golden State Warriors are still gonna win, so that's all good.
the problem with the LeBron haters and the Cleveland Cavalier haters is every single series they're going to predict them to lose, just to the point to where, say, if they get to Golden State in the championship and they lose, they're just going to be like, oh, well, we told you they were going to lose to Golden State when they were predicted to lose every single series before then. So at this point, all the Cleveland haters have to rock with it and hope that they lose any series, because that's all the hope that we have left, including you.
Including me. I am not a Cleveland hater. We just made predictions at the beginning of the playoffs. You picked Cleveland, I picked Golden State. So I'm rocking with the Warriors.
That just like everyone, I think it's a safe bet, but LeBron is playing at
You're
an
saying
all-time
it's a
high,
safe
so we'll
bet
see.
now. You were not saying it was a safe bet when I picked them.
We'll see. But in the meantime, let's get into a little bit of news in regards to the Toronto Raptors. This is a crazy story. Their head coach Dwayne Casey, I guess, allegedly may be fired, after 7 seasons and being a top seed, the number 1 seed this past year, and yet they got swept by the Cleveland Cavaliers for 2 straight years. That's 8 losses, not one single win. They had the number 1 best record in the East, so they had a lot of promise. DeMar DeRozan, Kyle Lowry just didn't play that great, or at least couldn't, stand up to LeBron James, and not even Kevin Love in this series. So, with Dwayne Casey, had a lot of good seasons there, number 1 seed. If he was to get fired, which all signs point to he probably will be, would this firing be warranted in your opinion?
This is a crazy one because I don't know if you saw this. Just today, they announced that he was voted the NBCA Coach of the Year. So 30 other NBA head coaches vote on it. and he won the Coach of the Year. So I think that would be wild if 30 other NBA coaches vote. They voted him, and then he gets fired. So I
That's
don't
wild.
know, right? Wouldn't that be crazy? I don't know, though, because I will also say, I'm most invested in my favorite team, the Cowboys, and they have a coach who won Coach of the Year and I think should have been fired. So, I mean, it can happen. I'm not invested enough in the Raptors to have an emotional attachment, obviously, but I think it's a case of you have to figure out whether these are teams that. So, first of all, with this coach, they won 59 games, which was a franchise record. Is this a coach that either can't get it done in the playoffs, which is possible, or do you think that he's a victim of a team that overachieves throughout the regular season? So, yes, they were a number one seed, but maybe they were playing above their level and that's how they got there. I don't know the answer, but I think that that's kind of when you want to have an opinion on this, what you have to look at. Because don't forget, he was fired by the Timberwolves when it was like his second season and they were 20-20 when they fired him. And the Timberwolves literally did not reach 500 again for 10 more years. So they didn't think he was good enough
Wow.
at 500. And then for the next 10 years, they never reached 500 again. So I think he's a good coach. I think they've given him a lot of time in Toronto. And I understand that they're kind of itching to get over that hump. But I don't know that a coaching change is the answer for them. Or like I said, maybe this team is just not there yet. And just because they put the wins together and finally were a one seed, whatever, during the regular season, maybe they were not a championship team. So I would say I would not be surprised if he is fired because I think nowadays sports teams management and ownership, there is such a short attention span and such a demand for results now from fans. So I could see that happening, but I don't think he should be fired.
He's definitely getting fired. He's gone. I know your roundabout answer of basically saying, yeah, he's out of there.
Well, I was giving my points, my reasons.
He's definitely getting fired. And I would say, with the patience of coaches and teams in the NBA, the fact that he's made it 7 years it says a lot. He's a great coach. He will definitely get another job, ASAP. But where we are in the NBA right now, teams have short leashes and they always go by the tanking model. And, giving someone 7 years is a long time, especially when you're the number one seed. He should not deserve to be fired with all the success he's had. But I think it's more of a city problem, not necessarily his problem. I mean, they're playing in Toronto. Yes, Toronto's an awesome city, but at the end of the day, it's still Canada. I'm sorry to any fans we have from Canada, but I don't know if I'd want to live in Canada either. If I'm if I'm a LeBron James, I'm not signing with Toronto, and that's that. But that's another conversation for another day. The city is not the best, setup, obviously being out of the country in Canada. And then two, you're just capped with the best players that you have. Like DeMar DeRozan, good player, all-star level. Kyle Lowry, pretty good player, mini all-star level. Obviously, he's made all-star teams as well. They're just not as good as LeBron James, and that's that. And I don't think if getting another coach, if that's going to save it, probably not going to save it. But at the end of the day, that the coach always has to fall on the sword, and unfortunately, he'll probably lose his job, especially with how he benched DeRozan at the end of that last game. But I think deep down he was saving DeRozan because he was playing so bad that I think he was saving him from himself. Actually, was a great coaching move, and I think coaches need to do that more. If their best player isn't playing well, sit him down as opposed to just leaving him out there. So my answer, he's definitely getting fired, but he'll get another job somewhere.
We'll talk more about open coaching jobs later.
Definitely.
So
What else we
now,
got? But first of all, I do want to say that, Drake has had a really rough week being a Toronto fan.
leave that man alone.
He's had a great year, but the last week's been rough. He had Kendrick Perkins, almost tried to fight him, which, Drake, bad idea. Don't mess with Kendrick Perkins. Then two, Rihanna, curved him of all time, said, when he, professed his love for her at the VMAs, it was a little uncomfortable. That stung. And then three, his team got swept by LeBron James. So
Leave that man alone.
I love Drake, but he's had a rough week.
You clearly don't. If you loved him, you'd let him be.
No. Don't have him send his OVO goons for me. I love Drake. He's the man.
Moving on from Drake to the Iran nuclear deal. How about
Your
that
boy
for
Donald
a
Trump,
transition? Not my boy.
It's somebody's boy. Oh, Kanye's boy.
Kanye's boy.
There
We
we
have to
go.
mention Kanye. There you go. I thought we were going to get a whole episode. So number 45, President of the United States this week withdrew from the Obama era nuclear agreement, better known as JCPA, which was an agreement that curbed Iran's nuclear activities in return for lifting our sanctions, the UN sanctions, and the EU sanctions. So we lifted those sanctions, and they agreed to not participate in as many nuclear activities. This week, 45 said that we were no longer going to be part of that agreement. He said it was decaying and rotten, and it was an embarrassment to him as a citizen. By doing that, we are going against the advice by our European allies. And since then, the Iran president, whose name I will not say, has said that the U.S. Has announced that we do not respect our commitments. And in response, they said they are preparing to restart uranium enrichment, key for making both nuclear and energy and weapons. So, in response to this, former President Obama responded, obviously he doesn't think that this is a good idea because he was the one who put this in place. He has said that walking away from the JCPOA turns our back on America's closest allies, an agreement that our country's leading diplomats, scientists, and intelligence professionals negotiating. At a time when we are all rooting for diplomacy with North Korea to succeed, walking away from the JCPOA risks losing a deal that accomplishes with Iran the exact outcome that we're pursuing with the North Koreans. What do you think about this, B?
It's a lot to take in, and I remember when they had signed this originally, and this is just a case of Donald Trump essentially wanting to unpack and undo literally every single thing that Obama did for the past 8 years. Like, and he said it in his election and his race that these were things that he was going to do. This is one of them, and it took about a year or so, but it's actually crazy that he was actually able to withdraw this deal, which I don't know, man. Are we going to war or what? What do you think? I feel like we're one step closer to going to war.
We are 100% one step closer. And since then, today, the Saudis have said, well, if Iran's going to start working on nuclear things, so are we. And I think, honestly, what's most concerning about this and has been not most concerning about the whole administration, but one of the concerning issues is that he did this to withdraw from this, which is bad enough, but without putting an alternative policy in place. So if you wanted to withdraw from this agreement and replace it with some sort of alternate policy, that would make a little more sense than just saying, nope, we're not going to be a part of this anymore. So it continues to destabilize the Middle East. It continues to increase the likelihood that stuff's going to hit the fan. And I think it is really kind of scary. And as Obama said, which is so true, that all of this focuses on what we're going to do with North Korea to get their nuclear weapons away. We already had settled this with Iran. Like, this work's already been done for you, and we're going to just go ahead and pull that back. Makes no sense except for what you said, by simply just making sure we undo everything Obama
Well,
did.
Trump was saying that essentially we were being almost like blackmailed by this agreement, with Iran, like almost to say, they won't, they won't bomb us or anything like that, with this deal in place, but you always have to essentially agree to certain factors or things that we want. So basically, like, this deal was almost like holding us by the balls, almost, so to speak. So,
well, exactly, and he did. He claimed that by doing this, it was done, but it didn't stop the development anyway of ballistic missiles, and that basically he was saying this handed them quite a bit of money. As we know, that's his main concern, and so he said by us lifting the sanctions, they had all this money that they wouldn't have if the sanctions were in place.
It's crazy. So, at the meetings they have and the things they have to discuss, I just want to sit in one of these meetings one day. I feel like it's so much illegal backdoor stuff going on with all these deals that it's just insane. I don't know if I would ever want to be in government because it's a lot of shady stuff that goes on.
That's pretty much, I think, all it is.
Man, you see when Obama went into office 8 years ago, he looked so young, fresh, like just, ready to get after it. 8 years later, man, that guy looks like he needed a nap.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine? But now he's living the dream. But you know what? I think because And I did not agree with all of Obama's political policies, but I think he's a good man. And I think that he did everything that he thought was right for this country, which is really all you can ask for in a president. But I think because he is a good man, and he does that, he doesn't just sit back now and say, well, not my problem. I think he's concerned with our future, and that's concerning too.
Well, of course, especially just with all the things he, got in place and bill sign and all that is starting to, get unraveled and just, be changed. But the problem, like you mentioned, is there's no backup plan. Like, yeah, we want to, withdraw from this deal. Well, what's next? What's our counter? We don't have one. So
No.
that's the scary part about it. I feel like we keep doing these things with, healthcare things like that, changes and, unravel things, but there's still no backup plan, which you knew that was going to happen. And we asked for it. So this is where we are.
Yeah. That's right. We voted for this. Well, we didn't. Someone did.
Well, I didn't, but a lot of people did that listen to the show. They did. They really did.
Well,
hey, if you did, can you please just email us and let us know, and then we can make fun of you?
No, we won't make fun of you.
Oh, I definitely will make fun of you.
I'm curious. This is what I'm curious about, actually, honestly. I'm curious if the people who voted for Donald Trump still support what he's doing, or if they think, ooh, maybe it wasn't such a good choice. That's what I'm curious, because I can't fault anybody. Well, because of what he ran on, I could fault. But I mean, you vote, and we're all human, right? But I'm curious if you still. Let's move on, because this is going nowhere.
Well, I have talked to a couple of people who did admit that he voted for him that had flipped and come around and wish that they hadn't. So
Okay.
there are some people that have, but there are still some closet supporters that probably listen to the show, as I just mentioned. So. But like I said,
you're not
we'll
calling
move on
out my fans. Okay, well,
you
let's
better
move
hope
on
not.
from
We'll have
Donald
to call
Trump.
them out. Don't let me find out it's Tara.
Don't get her going. That was
What's up with
actually,
her meat topic, whatever she want to talk about.
Good. Well, I don't want to talk about that. The whole reason I ever got on Twitter in my life was my sister and I were on Twitter to only follow political stuff that was all anti-Donald Trump before he was even the Republican nominee. That was the first time I joined Twitter. So, we were all anti-Trump, and that was how I got on Twitter, and here we are. So,
well, I love sis.
We're not
I love
discussing
Tara, but sorry, Tara, your topic ideas need some work. Let's get into. Can we talk about some Chicago stuff for once?
Let's do it. It's about time.
Enough of this national news.
Okay. What up, Chicago?
How you doing? So,
you were here this weekend. What happened? What did we miss?
It was Cinco de Mayo. It was a Kentucky Derby in Chicago on Saturday. It was perfect weather. It was around 80 degrees out. And you just know it was honestly probably the first super nice Saturday in Chicago. There was a lot going on. So, of course, people were out losing their minds. You saw the homie Chris Harden, who's done the episode a couple times. He will be a guest on the show once again. What up, Chris? I saw him Saturday, so it was good to be out in the city. And the funny part is just people that just overdress for the derby parties. It's absolutely hilarious to see. And one of my friends was like, why would you actually ever dress up for the derby party if you weren't actually at the Kentucky Derby? He was like, isn't that stupid? I was like, you know what? You kind of got a point. What's the actual point? I get it's like a party, but you're not there.
The hats?
Would you actually dress up for a derby party?
Oh, I would wear those hats. Are you kidding me? I had a hat like that. My last girl's trip was to Charleston, and I'm like, I need this big sun hat. We were doing a sailing cruise. We had chartered a sailboat, and I was like, well, I obviously need a hat, and I had a hat like that. In fact, I'll have to post the video. I took a secret video when we were at our boozy brunch. This woman in this big pink hat, ridiculous, like a derby hat, but it was Sunday, so that made no sense. But that was the consensus. My girls were like, yeah, Brittany would wear that. So yeah, no, I would totally wear the hat to the party. Are you kidding?
So you would be that person I probably would make fun of a little bit.
Yeah, like you don't already.
You know I do. It's all love though.
So yeah. So you would love my hat. It's fine. But I get what you're saying. But no, I would totally dress the part. I like themes.
But yeah, it was a good time in Chicago on Saturday. The city just wakes up when it gets warm out. It's been warm out this week, even though we've had rain off and on. And even now, as I look outside, now it's sunny again all of a sudden. So this is the bipolar weather time for Chicago. But it was a great weekend. Definitely had some friends in town. And, now is, after, Cinco de Mayo weekend, it's kind of like when summer in Chicago almost starts. So hopefully the weather holds up and we'll have a great summer.
That's right. We will. We got lots going on. What is going on? Tell me about this Memorial Day weekend Italian beef thing.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So,
okay.
Al's, if you ever I'm sure Al's Italian beef for all those in Chicago. If you've never been to Chicago, A, you need to come to Chicago. B, if you do, you have to get an Italian beef sandwich. So make sure for all those, if you come this summer, just find a place like Al's Beef or something like that. So for those actually in Chicago that actually live here, and if you like Italian beef, this is just a quick announcement that Revolution Brewing, they're going to be hosting their first Italian Beef Fest on May 26th. So it's actually going to be located around the Revolution Tap Room on 3340 North Kedzie, the first of its kind. So they don't have companies like Al's Italian Beef, Mr. Beef, like Buena Beef, and a couple other companies as well. So I think it's going to be a great time. Actually, if I'm able to, I might want to go. So
You're
they're
going?
actually going to have a raffle going on too, and tickets and money from the raffle is going to be going to the Anthony Rizzo Family Foundation. So it's cool that Anthony Rizzo of the Cubs getting involved in this. So make sure you get out and check it out.
Sounds good.
What else we got?
I got, oh, this is me. This.
We got to talk. What's up with this Illinois House?
Oh, are we
thing that
doing this
wanted to
first?
talk
Okay,
about?
yeah. So, a future guest that we're going to have on the show, and someone I had the pleasure of meeting with, is part of a project called the Voice Project, and they're part of supporting this bill that is working through Illinois State Congress right now. And what the bill is going to do, it's really kind of awesome. It's going to allow schools to apply for optional grants if they choose to relocate their funding from school-based law enforcement to mental health services, including social workers and other programs about school safety. So what it is, schools will then have the option, money that they're receiving now that goes to armed police and law enforcement at their schools, they can make a choice of what's best for their students to use that same money. And instead of arming the police at their schools, they might have social workers or counselors, mental health professionals, different people that are kind of disarming it, but still someone working towards the safety of the students. So it gives them the freedom to do that, as well as if they choose to do that, they can apply for a grant for additional funding for this. So it's pretty awesome. If schools still choose that they think it's in the best interest of their students to have armed law enforcement, they can do so. This is obviously a state bill in the Illinois House right now. It goes against a federal plan proposed by Jeff Sessions, who want to prioritize grants to states who are agreeing to put the most money towards law enforcement in schools. So it's kind of a different way to look at it after the Parkland shooting in Florida and the reaction to put more law enforcement and police in schools. The idea is it could be safer for our kids to have mental health professionals and social workers there instead. Right. So pretty exciting. And the best part is it will still be up to the schools to decide what's best for their students, which is, I think, all they're asking. So I think it's awesome. What do you think?
So, side note, remember that one of our sponsors has a website. It's called firejeffsessions.com. Make sure you check it out and get a t-shirt.
That's why I mentioned Jeff Sessions.
Yes, the Jeff Sessions name came up. So make sure you check him out and let's get this guy fired because he sucks. But I do think overall this is a great rule for the state of Illinois. Much rather have them have the choice and have more therapists in schools for the kids as opposed to security officers trying to arm officers in schools, arm teachers in schools. Any to prevent that, I'm all for it. So I think it's a great cause, and I'm glad that this sounds like it may be getting pushed through. I just hope that more states adopt this idea as well, and hopefully it'll eliminate the idea of all these guns in schools because I just don't like it.
Yeah, I agree, and it's exciting. I heard about this when I met with Devontae from the Voice Project. He told me that they were working on this, and then I saw it all over the news and newspapers and social media. So it's pretty exciting. So people are working hard for what's best for our kids. So way to go, people in Illinois, for that. Now, this weekend, the Crosstown Classic at Wrigley, later in the year, September, in the South Side. Who's going to win?
Probably the Chicago Cubs. I mean, for all those that aren't in Chicago, the Chicago Cubs are dope at baseball. They've made the playoffs, won the World Series recently. Wrigley's just popping right now. It's a good place to be in the summertime. Can't say so much, and sorry for the White Sox fans out there. Can't say so much for you guys right now. You're definitely in a rebuilding phase. Heck, even my Detroit Tigers, who are slacking right now, they're a young team. They're even doing better than the White Sox right now. So I'm going with a sweep. The Cubs need to have a good series. They didn't play so well at St. Louis this last weekend. The Cubs will sweep the White Sox, and hopefully it's good weather. The north side of Chicago will be rocking. But I'm sorry, White Sox fans, you have no chance. But what's your thought?
I also probably think the Cubs will win, but the most exciting thing for me was I saw an article, I think it was the Chicago Tribune, which was a guide for Southsiders, a guide for them eating at Wrigley. So that's my favorite part of baseball.
Really,
I
B?
go for the snacks, and it was like listing all the things you have to eat at Wrigley. And actually, I was remembering this. I was driving home from the airport the other day, and I was thinking of the last podcast. Maybe I don't remember why, and we were talking about Wrigley, and I forgot to mention when you said, "Have you been there?" I said, "Oh, last summer." I forgot that I was there last August for Lady Gaga. So it was my opportunity to mention Gaga again,
Oh
and
my
I
God, get out of here. That
forgot.
doesn't count.
So, but what made me think of it when I was reading the article, I was telling my girlfriend that when I was there for Lady Gaga, I had pizza at Wrigley and it was really good. And then I had to look up whose pizza was at Wrigley. I think it's Giordano's. But anyway, so I would want to be concerned with what to eat at Wrigley. There is a guide out there if you're going to be there and you like snacks like I do. It will tell you everything that you need to eat.
If you've
And if
never
you,
been to Wrigley Field, make sure you get one of those the nacho hats in the game. You can get anything you want on it. They load it up. That's honestly the best thing that they have at Wrigley. I can get that every single time I go.
or the pizza. And there was a thing, it was like a cauliflower. It was like a spicy
Ew.
cauliflower thing. Okay, it looked
Cauliflower
good.
and baseball does not mix, so do not do that
It's the
at
north
Wrigley
side.
Field
What do you
ever.
want?
Whatever
What do
she
you want?
said, just ignore it.
Okay, so that's that. Go Cubs, and that'll be a fun weekend.
So for
Should we?
quickly, before we get off of this, if you're just new fans to our show, been on our live shows and are just now listening, we always try to do an Everything Chicago segment because obviously we are Chicago. So we always try to keep you up to date on what's going on in Chicago news, events. Doesn't really matter. We'll touch on Chicago each and every single episode. So that was Everything Chicago. So it's kind of a quiet week in Chicago. So hopefully next week there'll be more to talk about in the city.
Yeah.
Quick hits time or what?
Quick hits. Let's do it.
All right. So this one's for
Nope.
you. You do this because I got to get my thoughts first.
Oh yeah, this was you were strategic in this planning.
There we go.
Okay, B.Hun, the Detroit Pistons fire their coach GM Stan Van Gundy. Will my girl Becky Hammon be the first woman to be head coach in the NBA? Would you want a female coach in the NBA?
Well, first of all, I am glad that the Pistons decided to fire Stan Van Gundy. He should not have ever been the coach and the GM. It's very hard to do both. It should have been either one or the other. Probably a GM, but actually not a coach because he loses players all the time. As a GM, he made a lot of bad moves, stuck us with Blake Griffin. The list goes on and on. I'll keep it short for quick hits, but I'm happy with that. Now, will Becky Hammon be the first woman to be a coach in the NBA? Yes, she will. But would I, for my team, for the Pistons, or for one of your favorite teams, would you want her to be your coach for your team? This may get me in some trouble, but I'm going to say no. And just hear me out on this, why I say that. You have to understand you're dealing with a lot of, male-dominant figures. They make a lot of money. Sometimes it's an organization or a player just may not be ready for that. It's going to take a lot for a woman to come in and really command the respect for a player. I think it's going to be really, really tough. You have to have the right mindset of team players for that coach to be successful, or else it's not going to work. And where Detroit is right now, I don't think they want that pressure. They need to go with someone that can actually help them, not a project. So I think she'll get a job. I just don't think it'll be with the Pistons, but I think she will. But it's a tough call to actually do that. I wouldn't want that for my team. What do you think?
Because she's a woman.
No, it's not because she's a woman. It's a lot that goes around with it. And it takes a lot to actually want to and be able to handle that pressure of coaching a bunch of male dominant guys and actually be able to listen to her. It'll take a lot. It'll probably will happen, but I don't think a lot of NBA teams right now want that pressure when it's pressure to be the best.
I understand that. I also don't think that she will be the coach of the Pistons. I think that if anything, I think it's looking like it could be Milwaukee, who could be interested in her. She's getting an interview. That's it. I think a big thing about basketball that's different than other professional sports is, as a woman, she has the opportunity to play on a professional level. So it's not like someone going in and coaching in the NFL, where as a woman, I've never played football on a professional level. She was a professional player. She was incredibly successful as a professional basketball player. She's been a successful assistant to the San Antonio Spurs. She coached their summer league to a title in 2015. So I think she's done enough to prove herself to warrant an interview. If there are other issues that a team doesn't think that she's a good fit, then so be it. I don't think she should be hired just because she's a woman, and I don't think she would want that either. but there's enough men out there, especially who have been assistant coaches, who get hired, and they are not good head coaches either. So, I mean, I'd love to see my team take a shot on something like that. But
Yeah, that's that. I
I am a
mean,
woman.
maybe, but
Okay.
I just for the Pistons' sake, stay as far away as possible. We just don't need that right now. We need some good things to happen, not a project right now. So,
Okay. We better move
who
on.
who was the best dressed at the Met Gala this year? I know you saw it.
I have to go with two.
You
I'm
were
a
probably
Rihanna.
there.
I was probably there. I was not there. You did not see my pictures on the red carpet. You would have seen me if I was there.
Okay.
I have to go with Rihanna, who I adore, and J Lo. J Lo looked so good. Her outfit was not as elaborate as some, but she looked good.
She always looks good.
I
I feel
know,
like she
it's
hasn't
crazy.
aged at all, right?
She has not. It is crazy. She's like the ultimate goal. Who would you pick?
I think Diddy looked like a boss. He always does. I mean, he's just gonna be dressed to the nine. J Lo looked amazing. Rihanna looked amazing. SZA looked amazing. There were others that list can go on and on. I know who did not look amazing. I don't know what
Who's
happened,
that?
but Selena Gomez just didn't really look good.
Yeah,
Kylie
she's been
Jenner's
getting a
dress
lot of.
was kind of
Yeah.
trash, unfortunately. I wish Childish Gambino's suit was better because it really wasn't that good. And then Tom Brady, his wife Giselle, obviously looked amazing. I don't know what the hell he was wearing, but in those types of things, I think it's more for the women than the men. So hey, leave Tom Brady alone. He's still the GOAT, but I wasn't really feeling that outfit either.
Yeah, and Wiz Khalifa, also not elaborate, but he looked good. So
Wiz is the man though.
that's my guy. All right.
This is me. Oh, because I know
No,
I
this
want to
is
get your
me.
thoughts on this
This
first.
is me. What are you talking about? Meek Mill? This is me. I
Oh,
see
have
my
at
name.
it.
Oh, all right, B. Meek Mill sat down with Angie Martinez for a tell-all interview. What are your thoughts on it?
Did you actually see it yet?
I actually did watch it.
He's about to turn into like Meek Luther King, like pretty
He
much.
said he's not. He specifically said, I'm not Meek Luther King.
I know, but he still kind of is going to be like Meek because basically what he's doing is now he's going to be the voice and the face of judicial reform, which is amazing. But what I hope he doesn't do is turn his music into that, like be that kind of person. But I think off camera or behind the scenes, I think he can definitely be that voice. I just don't want that to turn into what his music is all about. I thought it was an amazing interview. He seemed in a great headspace. I do like the fact that he's saying he's not going to wear as much jewelry now and try to flip the jewelry and things like that into more like properties. And you can tell he's just grown up a lot to where I think he's going to go on an amazing run. And I think he has a great headspace right now. That next album better be fire.
I think it will be. I loved it. I thought he was super positive. Like he should be angry and he could be angry, but Angie was like, "How are you?" And he was like, "Well, good. I'm not in jail." Like I just think that that's such an incredible quality in a person to not. I mean, to come out to make changes, to be angry enough to make changes, but to not live your life bitter over things you can't control is kind of admirable. So I liked it. I thought it was good. I think he'll have a lot of new fans. I think he'll have a lot of people interested in what he has to say, and I think he'll come out ready with the music. I forgot. This is why you thought it was your turn. It wasn't on the list. Go ahead.
Because it was, but anyway, so Mark Ingram of the New Orleans Saints, he got suspended 4 games for PEDs, and I even said before he did look a little extra jacked this past season, but I couldn't really pinpoint why, but I think we may know now. So, do players, do this knowing that they're at their own risk, or do you really think they don't know what they were taking?
This blows my mind. I don't know. I imagine that there's some who do know exactly what they're taking, obviously. There are some that are so convincing that they truly didn't know. And it's like, how does this happen? You are a professional athlete. How are you not aware of what you're putting in your body? But I remember it was just earlier this spring, this offseason, the Panthers linebacker Thomas Davis put out this huge video apologizing and basically saying he would never do this. This is not the way he does things. And it seemed really heartfelt and it was really elaborate for a guy. If he really hadn't done it, it just seemed kind of crazy. So I don't know. I can't imagine Mark Ingram would be silly enough, knowing that Alvin Kamara is on his heels to take his starting job. Would he be silly enough to do this, knowing he's going to risk getting caught, be out 4 games, and never getting that starting job back? Or Kamara was coming on like nuts. Did he feel that pressure and say, well, sheesh, I got to do something like to get my edge back? So I don't know the answer. I cannot imagine any of them being stupid enough in today to take things not knowing. But I guess you never know. I know David Irving, who's a Cowboys player, he stands by the fact that there was an ingredient in a supplement he took that was not listed. It was a natural ingredient, and they were never even able to tell him what he tested positive for. All they said was that his testosterone was too high. So it could have been something in there. So I think sometimes they can get caught up in that. They don't know all the natural things that they're taking. But you know what? You're a professional athlete. You're responsible for what you put in your body. That's
Yeah,
how
I think he knew what he was taking. Obviously, they appealed it. They lost the appeal, which may mean a lot. Maybe they're just saying, "Hey, we're going to move on from this, serve your time, and then get back in the field." Like I said, I don't know. He looked he looked a little bit bigger this past season. So when I see that, sometimes there's smoke, there's fire. Maybe he didn't know, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that he 100% knew, and maybe he just didn't think he was going to get tested, and he did. And he'll set his 4 games. He can get some rest. He'll still come back. They still have the 1-2 punch. So I think no time. We don't need to panic, New Orleans Saints fans. I think he'll be okay.
They'll be all right. Look for it by him sitting. It's going to save them some money, and they might be able to sign my guy, Mr. 88 Des Bryant. We'll see.
Oh my gosh. He's probably gonna have to retire. He can't get picked up.
Nobody asked you.
What up,
Alex,
Des?
yeah. Don't make me say his name. He finally beat Sidney Crosby to advance to the NHL playoffs. He is a 3-time MVP and Alex, we're on a first name basis. He has never made the Stanley Cup. Do you want the Washington Capitals to win the Stanley Cup?
So for fear of her butchering his name, it was Alex Ovechkin. He's a
What do you guys
three-time.
like that?
It's hilarious.
He's Canadian. Why does his name sound like that?
Right, he's a 3-time Hart Trophy winner. That's MVP for the national for NHL.
They knew
He's
what I
never
meant.
been to the Stanley Cup, so for that reason, I'm rooting for the Capitals to make it to the Stanley Cup because I think it'll be cool. He's never made it before. He's one of the best players of all time, but I'm still rooting for the Las Vegas Knights because, as I mentioned last week, playing hockey and winning in hockey your first season in Vegas is lit. So I'm rooting for Vegas.
Well, yeah, me too. I'm like, how can you ask me this? We just last week said we were rooting for Vegas. I am, as an expansion team, excited for them. So, yeah, nobody's rooting for the Capitals. Nobody cares. I don't like DC teams anyway. So
there you go.
Yeah.
J.Cole and Young Thug, they're both going on tour together this summer. Would you go to a J.Cole and Young Thug show?
I'd go, but I don't know. It would be under one condition. I don't know if you ever saw this video that was Young Thug singing the band Fun, their song Some Nights, and he's like loving it and killing it, and it's my favorite video in the world. Maybe I'll post it on the podcast page. It's my favorite thing in the world is Young Thug singing this song. So I would go under the condition that he would perform that song. Otherwise, I'm not going. What about you?
I like Young Thug. I'm not sure how much I would like him live. I guess I can't say I've never seen it, so I would give it a shot. I've seen J. Cole live before. His shows are pretty dope. It's an interesting, eclectic mix of type of fan base that you'll have there. It's definitely going to sell out. I would go if I had free tickets. That's what I would say. But I don't think I'm paying to see J. Cole and Young Thug. I've seen him before, and I'm not sure if I'm really that excited to see Young Thug, even though Young Thug makes dope music.
Do you think it's ironic that J. Cole has a whole song about mumble rappers and then brings Young Thug on tour with him?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm not surprised. You know, deep down, I mean, Young Thug is very respected. You know, in the hip hop community, they all think he makes fire music, and he does. So I'm not surprised that he would pick him. That's a smart move.
I believe now he wants us to refer to him as Sex, is what he requested.
I think didn't he change his name already, or what?
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so
all those drugs, man.
Can we get the clown of the week?
That lifestyle.
Can we get the clown of the week?
Yes, and can I go first?
Sure.
Yeah, so for all those fans who are just new fans of Alternative Fact Chicago, welcome. But we do Clown of the Week every episode, so that's just when we make fun of people for being stupid or just for actually being a clown for something in the past week. So mine, and I did mention it a little bit earlier in the episode, my Clown of the Week who are against all types of women who are still against interracial relationships. And I'm actually shocked that it's 2018 and we still have to have this conversation. But, you know, with the coming up in the Childish Gambino story and saying he can't represent the culture, I think that's very short-sighted, very closed-minded. And those are the type of people I honestly just don't really want around. I think deep down it's a complex of you lacking self-confidence to where you may feel that you can't get the right type of guy that you want because, you know, that person's dating outside of their race. No, maybe they actually just don't like you, or maybe because you are hating on them for dating outside of their race. So maybe it's just something that they just don't match with. Maybe it's just a certain type of person that this person may like. Who cares who you're dating, as long as you're not acting in a certain way that's against who you are, like what a Kanye West is doing. What Childish Gambino's doing is amazing. He should be able to date whoever you want. Anyone should be able to date whoever you want. And if you have an issue with it and say that black guys should only date black women, white guys and white women, it's stupid. It's 2018. I think we all need to wake up and be smarter. So for that, you all, if it's women, men, whoever agrees with that, you are definitely getting the clown of the week.
They are the clowns of the week. Yeah, I'm glad you said if it's women or men, because at first you said maybe you can't get the guy you want, and I wanted to be like, hold on, there are plenty of men who also have an issue with
Well, a lot of the
this.
comments I've seen, I guess to defend
Yeah,
myself,
a
have
lot
been
are.
come
Yes,
from women. Obviously, that's not all, but what I've seen mainly is from women. So that's what strikes me to say that. But yeah,
yes.
definitely, both parties involved.
You're all clowns. I agree.
What's
Love
yours?
who you want to love. My clown of the week, I had to change it at the last minute because right before we started recording came out this information about Tidal. And a couple of months ago when we talked about streaming service, Tidal, you are my clown of the week. You have been accused of falsifying streaming numbers for Kanye West. Yes, you thought we would get through an episode without talking about him. Not so fast. For his album, Life of Pablo, and for Beyonce's album, Lemonade, which is my favorite Beyonce album. However, it is accused that their numbers were inflated through manipulated user play counts. They are saying up to 300 million fake streams have been recorded for these two albums between Kanye and Beyonce. And what's crazy is you just think at first, okay, like it's hyping their numbers. Now they're platinum, now they're this and that. No, what you don't think about is how much excessive royalty payouts Beyonce and Kanye West have received as a result of this. So that's crazy. Tidal has responded saying it's a smear campaign. So I'm holding a little judgment out for you, Tidal, in case this isn't true. But all signs point to the fact that it is. That is insane. How did you think you'd get away with this? Why did you do this? Tidal, you are the clown of the week.
I almost don't want to believe this, but at the end of the day, with how you can finagle numbers behind the system, all these YouTube streams and just Post Malone album sales, I wouldn't be surprised if they're faking numbers just to make their album sales be bigger. I wouldn't be surprised one bit. The music entertainment right now, I feel like is one big circus, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, that's really terrible, and it undermines. You know what it does? It undermines artists who have done a lot streaming, and it's going to make you second guess everything that you see. Maybe your girl Cardi B wasn't as popular as you thought she was.
Maybe Post Malone isn't as popular as I think. I feel like he's a great artist, but to do 500,000 in 1 week, a little fishy, man. I don't know. I
Yeah.
got my doubts.
So we'll have to see. Now they're going to look into all of them. So I just thought that was wild. And they don't have to. That's the thing. Beyonce's Lemonade album, like you didn't, Life of Pablo, you didn't have to do that. And again, when it kind of crosses the line from just kind of inflating them as artists to really, that's stealing money. That they got that much excessive royalty payouts. They're stealing. And that's crazy. So, I don't know. We'll see.
Side note, so I'm on Twitter right now, and I see WWE superstar Charlotte Flair, that's Ric Flair's daughter. She's gonna go undergo surgery on a ruptured breast implant. Ooh, that sounds painful,
Man,
right?
it is a rough time for butt implants, breast implants. They're leaking. Ladies, don't worry about your butt or your breast. Just be you
So what happens
because
then? Does it just explode in your breast or what?
yeah, it leaks into your body. Oh, it's very dangerous.
Well, she's going on the shelf for a while, so shouts out to Charlotte Flair.
Hope you feel better.
That was a fun episode. I'm glad, we actually got to reconvene. It's been a busy few weeks with, the live show. We had Nick Brown on from Glap and Nova, and then, the shortened episode last week. You going on vacation. So glad to get back to home base.
Yeah, it's been good, and we almost kept it to an hour. How about that?
Hope so. So
Yeah.
before we get off of here, though, we do have to mention that we are on other platforms. So the love in the show is growing to various platforms. We do have more announcements coming too. So be on the lookout for that. But make sure you check out 24/7 liveculture.com. They do host our show on their platform. They're on all social media at 24/7 Live Culture. Make sure you follow them on all the social media. And then also, too, our show each and every Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern is featured on wilddogsradio.com. So shouts out to them for the opportunity.
Thank you, guys.
What else we got? Anything else before we get up out of here or what?
That's it. We're ready to go.
I know. It was an amazing episode. Get some rest, get your voice back.
I'm working on it.
We got to get another guest up here soon. I think we will in a couple of weeks. So if you know anyone in Chicago that would be great to feature on our show that you actually think would benefit, from, getting some, airtime from us, make sure you let us know, email us, or hit us up on social media.
Yeah, sounds good.
Sounds good. So,
Sounds good.
But once again, I'm getting up out of here. It's been a long week so far. Make sure you all work hard and never forget, you can always do anything that you want to do. You just got to go for it. That's how we did. And, that's why we are the #1 podcast in the city.
That's right.
All right. So this is B.Hun with B. Chan. This is Alternative Fact Chicago, episode 44, and we are out.
We're out.
Peace.